Chapter 1. The Quiet Before. Snow fell like confetti over the city of Antwerp, coating its ornate rooftops in a layer of silver silence. Behind the bustling shops and winding alleys, the diamond district gleamed under street lamps, a fortress of wealth hidden behind plain facades. On the 5th floor of the Diamond Center building, Leonardo Notarbartolo stood at a window, sipping espresso from a paper cup, pretending to be bored. The espresso was terrible, but it didn't matter. What mattered was the view: a quiet parking lot, a security booth across the street, and the reflection of 2 armed guards pacing behind tinted lobby glass. He glanced at his watch, then turned to study the plain office behind him. A rented shell company, a name on the door, a desk, some chairs, and a few scattered documents to keep up appearances. It had taken him nearly 2 years to embed himself here. Enough time to be trusted, enough time to become invisible. He smiled faintly as a small red dot blinked from a hidden camera in the ceiling tile. Every corner of the building was under surveillance. Every vault, every hallway. That was the trick. You didn't break into a place like this. You became part of it. Leonardo had spent months walking the building, noting everything: the cadence of the guards, the rhythm of elevator stops, the hum of motion sensors. He knew that on weekends, security was lighter. He knew that 2 of the lobby guards had side jobs, and the one on Sunday evenings liked to nap behind the front desk. And he knew the vault. It was buried 2 stories below the street, sealed behind steel-reinforced doors, magnetic locks, and motion detectors wired to a central control room. But none of that would matter, because he wasn't alone. They met in silence, never more than 2 at a time, and always in places where eyes didn't follow. Armand was the locksmith, broad-shouldered, slow-speaking, with fingers like a pianist's. He didn't talk much, but he understood locks in ways that seemed impossible. He could smell tension in a tumbler. He once cracked a safe by listening to the temperature of its hinges. John Farrow, thin and angular, looked more like a banker than a thief. He wore tailored suits and spoke in clipped phrases. But John was the mastermind of space, a savant with floor plans, vault blueprints, and mechanical systems. He could redesign a surveillance grid on a napkin down to the millimeter. Then there was Donato, an old friend of Leonardo's from Turin. Donato didn't steal. He watched. He tracked guards, memorized their patterns, and knew the language of uniform creases and untied shoelaces. He knew when a man was distracted, when he was afraid. He noticed everything. The last was Luca Moretti, the youngest, reckless, and brilliant. Luca could build or break anything electronic: sensors, alarm systems, RFID scanners, pressure pads. He was impulsive, sharp-tongued, and often unbearable. But they needed him, and together they had no official name. But among themselves, they referred to the plan as Il Silenzio, the silence. It had begun with a camera, a small, hidden pinhole lens that Leonardo had installed in the security room months earlier, disguised as part of the smoke detector above a cabinet. It gave them access to every feed in the building, every corridor, every entry point, and most importantly, the vault floor itself. From it, John mapped the entire movement system, including which sensors triggered with body heat, which were timed, and which relied on magnetic input. They discovered that a single panel on the vault's exterior wall had a fault, a bypassable contact if handled in complete darkness. Luca built a replica of the vault in a warehouse outside Milan. For weeks, they trained in it like astronauts preparing for a moonwalk. Armand practiced unlocking the magnetic cylinders blindfolded. John timed their movements to the second. Donato played the role of roaming guard. Every detail had to be exact, because they would only get one shot. By early February, everything...
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Was in place. They chose the weekend after Valentine's Day, a time when jewelers would be least suspicious and vaults would be full from recent inventory checks. Most depositors wouldn't visit again until Monday, a full 48-hour window if they timed it right. Leonardo entered the building just after closing time Friday evening, blending in with late-leaving tenants. His ID badge, issued by the building management, gave him access to the elevator. He descended to the second basement. No one questioned him. He was part of the fabric now. He placed a thin magnetic strip over the vault sensor, built by Luca, rigged to delay the alert by 30 seconds. Then he left the building with the same slow calm, tossing his coffee cup into a trash bin on the way out. Outside, Armand sat in a parked van across the street, the engine off. He watched Leonardo emerge, nod once, and disappear into the night. They didn't speak. They never spoke during operations. That was the first rule. By Saturday night, the plan was in motion. Luca disabled the security feeds with a device he had hidden weeks earlier inside a ceiling vent near the server room. It created a looping buffer, 10 minutes of false footage, repeated again and again, while the real feeds were rerouted to a blank cache. Inside the vault hallway, John slid a plastic sheet over the pressure-sensitive floor. Each corner was anchored with micro-suction cups, designed to hold steady even if someone stumbled. They wore headlamps with red lenses, no visible light, no shadows. Armand worked on a vault lock with custom-made tools, each built for silence. No drills, no cutting, no sparks, just hands and breath and silence. When the door opened, they didn't celebrate. They moved, fast, precise, box after box. They opened them using bypass keys, lockpicks, and tricks learned from years of practice. Diamonds, bearer bonds, gold coins, all carefully loaded into duffel bags lined with lead foil to prevent X-ray detection during exit. In total, over 100 deposit boxes were breached. Then, as the first light of Sunday morning crept over the rooftops, they sealed the vault, reset the sensors, restored the security feeds, and walked out, like ghosts. Leonardo returned to his apartment that morning, tossed his jacket onto a chair, and sat down to breakfast as if nothing had happened. The city was waking up. Church bells rang. Pigeons scattered across the rooftops. He turned on the radio. The heist wouldn't be discovered until Monday morning, when jewelers returned and found their boxes empty, the alarm untouched, the vault unbroken. By then, Leonardo would already be gone, and so would the others.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Chapter 2: The Vanishing Line. Rain fell hard on the northern Italian highway, smearing headlights across the windshield as Leonardo drove southbound in a dusty black Citroen. In the passenger seat sat a plain duffel bag, anonymous, shapeless, but packed with wealth beyond imagination. Inside, uncut diamonds, about 30% of the total haul, just enough to stay invisible, not so much to tempt betrayal. He didn't speak. The radio was off. His hands were calm on the wheel. He drove with the steady pace of a man returning from a long trip, not from one of the largest robberies in modern history. At a rest stop near Parma, he changed license plates in the rain, wiping them clean with a shop towel before slipping the new ones on with practiced ease. In the bathroom, he changed clothes, jeans, a navy coat, scuffed shoes. Left the ones he wore during the heist in a trash bin. By the time he crossed into Tuscany, the car looked like it had belonged to him for years. And by the time the sun set behind the hills of Florence, Leonardo was gone. Donato boarded a small ferry off the Ligurian coast before dawn, posing as a freelance photographer with gear bags and a travel notebook. In reality, His bags were filled with coded ledgers, and the gear included a disassembled hard drive containing surveillance logs, vault schematics, and security bypass routines. He didn't look over his shoulder. He didn't need to. The team had trained for this. The exit strategy was as important as the heist itself. Splitting up was critical. Each would take a different route, a different story, and a different portion of the haul. They'd agreed. No contact for 6 months. No phones. No meetings. No slips. Total blackout. Armand left through the French border in a beat-up delivery van loaded with crates of antique furniture, only 2 of which were real. The third, shielded by lead-line panels, contained a velvet-lined case of loose stones and raw gold ingots. He had his passport, a shipping manifest, and a forged customs invoice. It all looked official. It always did. He smiled at the border agent, who barely glanced at the papers. "Anything to declare?" the man asked in French. "Just memories," Armand replied. The gate rose, and he disappeared into the hills. Luca took the riskiest route, east, through Austria, toward the Czech border. He didn't want to run. He wanted to celebrate. But he followed protocol, at least for now. In the back of his modified Audi, the floor panels had been hollowed out and reinforced. Inside them lay an array of uncut diamonds, precisely wrapped and isolated from any electronic detection. It was his own idea. He didn't trust couriers, didn't trust planes. He only trusted machines. And himself. He crossed through Graz by nightfall, and by the time the heist made headlines in Antwerp, he was already in Prague, renting a high-rise apartment under a Ukrainian passport and sipping from a bottle of expensive champagne. When the vault discovery finally made the morning news, Belgium froze. Panic broke out across the Diamond District. Over 100 safety deposit boxes had been cleaned out, stones, gold, bearer bonds, and rare metals, gone without a trace. No alarms triggered, no broken locks, no suspects. It was as if the vault had emptied itself. Bank officials were dumbfounded, investigators baffled. The media called it the heist of the century. By the time police reviewed the security footage, they found nothing but loops of repeated motion. Same guards, same corridors, same empty vault hallway. Everything was too perfect, too silent. The investigators got to work quickly. They formed a joint task force: Belgian Federal Police, Interpol, private insurers. Every known fence, middleman, and ex-jewel thief across Europe was questioned. Tips poured in, but none led anywhere. Inside the Diamond Center, forensic units tore the vault apart, looking for evidence. They found glove fibers, partial footprints, and one single rogue hair. But no fingerprints, no names, no...
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
motives, only ghosts. Back in Florence, Leonardo rented a modest stone cottage just outside the city limits. It had a wood-burning stove, thick walls, and a cellar he quickly turned into a working lab. He laid out the stones on a velvet cloth and examined each under a loupe. Most were GA certified, many laser inscribed. Too dangerous to move immediately. He categorized them by cut, clarity, and risk profile. Some would need to be recut. Others would be sent through a string of middlemen to be sold piecemeal over the next year. He burned all the vault maps in the fireplace. Then he lit a cigarette and poured himself a glass of red wine. It was done, but the silence was just beginning. Armand went further underground. He kept to small port towns along the French Riviera, living under a new identity as a boat mechanic. He had a dock to himself, a small sailboat, and 2 fake passports. He stashed his share of the haul in waterproof cases sealed inside the keel of his vessel. He didn't tell anyone his name. He didn't need to. The water kept secrets better than land. John was the only one who didn't leave Western Europe. He stayed in Barcelona, blending in with the transient upper middle class, too rich to question, too forgettable to track. He took up a part-time role at an architecture firm under a fake name and built himself a quiet life in a modernist flat near the old city. The diamonds he carried were hidden behind the drywall, sealed inside custom-fit capsules he designed years ago, just for this purpose. John wasn't hiding. He was waiting, watching, planning for what came next. Luca began to grow restless. Prague offered anonymity, but anonymity wasn't enough for him. He wanted recognition, the thrill of the game. He missed the tension, the precision, the risk. He began going out again, first to cafes, then clubs. Always under aliases, but always a little too bold. He flirted with danger the way some men flirt with fame. And danger noticed. The Belgian investigators were relentless. They studied surveillance footage, interviewed employees, brought in consultants from Germany and the UK. Eventually, they identified a strange anomaly. A man with a business license for a small diamond brokerage firm on the 5th floor, barely active, barely legitimate. The man was supposedly Italian. Went by the records showed he'd rented the office months earlier. But by the time they checked the building registry, the office was empty. The nameplate was gone. The desk cleared. Only the faint smell of cheap espresso remained. The team wasn't safe. Not entirely. They'd known that from the start. Getting out of Antwerp was one thing. Staying ahead of law enforcement, syndicates, and loose tongues was another. And all it would take was one mistake, one camera, one misplaced name, one road transaction. That's why the plan had a second phase, containment. Each man was responsible for cleaning his trail. Luca's electronics, John's schematics, Armin's tools, Donato's logs. And Leonardo? He was responsible for the money. He had established a series of offshore channels through a Swiss contact named Schaefer, a discreet broker who specialized in difficult-to-move assets. Diamonds, art, bearer bonds. The man operated out of Zurich, clean and quiet. Leonardo made contact through a private server, using a prearranged code. The deal was simple. Schaefer would begin converting part of the stones into liquid assets, funneling the money into a layered network of shell companies and numbered accounts. The rest would stay locked in underground vaults until it was safe to sell. Payments would be issued in waves, and no names would ever be spoken. A month after the heist, the team was scattered across 3 countries, moving like smoke through different lives. No arrests, no sightings, no slips, but even smoke can leave a scent. And somewhere in Prague, danger was circling. Luca just didn't know it yet.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Chapter 3, Fault Lines. Rain was falling in Prague again, turning the cobbled streets into a glistening maze. From the upper window of a gray apartment block in Žižkov, Luca Moretti watched the trams roll by like mechanical insects. The city had a heartbeat, one that pulsed just below the surface, and Luca had started to feel it. But he didn't belong here. He told himself it was temporary. He'd arrived 2 weeks after the heist, slipping across borders with forged papers, using a Balkan ID and a backpack full of diamonds worth millions. His apartment was sparse. A mattress, a desk, a mini fridge, and the laptop he used to stay connected to the underworld. No photos, no fingerprints, not even a router in his name. But he was slipping. He had already broken 2 rules. First, he'd gone out drinking. Second, he talked. It started in a smoky jazz bar near Old Town, where expats mingled with university students and washed-up spies. Luca was 3 bourbons deep when a man named Casper sat next to him. Clean-shaven, leather jacket, Slavic cheekbones, and the polite kind of menace. They talked about politics, then drugs, then weapons. By the 4th drink, Luca let something slip. I've seen vaults that would make your spine curl. Casper smiled but didn't press. He didn't need to. He bought another round instead. Across the Adriatic, Leonardo sat in a quiet Florentine wine bar, staring at a folded map of Antwerp. Not because he needed it. He had every corridor memorized, but because he couldn't stop replaying it. He lit a cigarette and leaned back. The diamond industry hadn't recovered. Insurance companies were still scrambling to understand how a vault deemed impenetrable had been emptied without a trace. One Belgian tabloid had started calling it the ghost job. Leonardo didn't feel like a ghost. He felt tired. He hadn't contacted any of the others. Hadn't needed to. But Donato had sent a signal. A secure email with a blank body and a single subject line. Quiet. It meant he was safe. For now. John had heard whispers. In a Catalonian dive bar, someone had mentioned a blacklist. A private dossier of suspects compiled by an insurer's special investigation unit. Former thieves, smugglers, crooked locksmiths. He paid a bribe to see it. All 5 of their names were absent. But what froze him wasn't that. It was who had appeared instead. Victor Schaefer, the broker, the fixer, and beside his name, an annotation, active lead under surveillance. John closed the dossier, burned the copy, and returned to his apartment with a knot in his chest. If Schaefer fell, they all would. In a quiet marina near Toulon, Armand sat on the deck of his sailboat, polishing a brass winch with methodical slowness. He read newspapers from 7 countries, tracing the ripple effects of the Antwerp heist, customs raids, vault upgrades, a spike in global diamond traceability. It was coming, not just attention, but scrutiny. Jewelers were being questioned. Retired thieves were being pulled in. People were nervous. Armand wasn't. His escape plan didn't involve roads or borders. It involved wind. Back in Prague, Luca was invited to a warehouse party. One of those subterranean affairs held in old Soviet-era factories filled with too many strobe lights and not enough fire exits. He wore sunglasses and a black coat, leaning against a concrete pillar with a drink in hand, observing. Casper found him again. "You're not from here," he said. "I'm from everywhere," Luca replied. "Then you're running from something." Luca chuckled. "Aren't we all?" But Casper wasn't laughing. Later that night, as the crowd thinned, Casper slipped Luca a phone number. "If you ever need to move something big," he said, "call this." Then he vanished into the crowd.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Luca didn't sleep that night. He stared at the number scrawled on the matchbook, debating. He knew better, knew not to play outside the circle. But temptation itched under his skin. He told himself it was curiosity. Told himself he wouldn't actually call. By morning, the matchbook was in his pocket. In Zurich, Victor Schaefer sat behind a mahogany desk, calmly stirring sugar into his espresso. Across from him, 2 men in dark suits asked questions with the polite tension of people trained to kill, if necessary. One of them slid a folder across the table. It contained images, satellite photographs, bank records, a blurred shot of Leonardo entering the Diamond Center 2 months before the heist. Schaefer didn't blink. "Never seen him," he said. They watched him carefully. He smiled faintly. "If I had, I'd tell you. But I didn't." The men stood. They left without another word. Schaefer waited 10 minutes, then called a private number. A woman's voice answered. He said only one word: contingency. Donato noticed the tension first. In southern Italy, where he'd returned under the guise of distant cousin's vineyard helper, the police had started showing up more frequently. Not looking for him. Not yet. But sniffing. He moved again, this time inland, to a crumbling villa that hadn't seen electricity since the Cold War. He brought only 2 things: his ledger now encrypted and buried, and a shortwave radio tuned to a prearranged channel. Nothing came across, just static. That was good. That meant the others were still invisible. Leonardo felt it too. Walking through Florence's open-air market, he caught a glimpse of a camera lingering too long. A man pretending to read a newspaper. A courier who made 2 trips past his door. He didn't panic. He packed. By nightfall, he was gone, the cottage stripped clean, the diamonds sealed in a vacuum bag, hidden inside a false-bottom suitcase. He took the back road south, never speeding, never stopping too long. He had 5 passports, 3 nationalities, and 1 rule: never wait to be found. In Prague, Luca finally dialed a number. A voice answered. "Speak." "I've got something rare," Lucas said. Pause. "Then where?" "I'll come to you." Another pause. "No, we'll find you." The line went dead. Lucas stared at the receiver for a long time. 2 nights later, a knock came on his apartment door. He didn't answer, just watched through the peephole. 3 men. No uniforms. No smiles. They left a package. Inside, a burner phone, a GPS coordinate, and a message. "You have 1 hour." He went. He shouldn't have. He was taken to an underground club, past a bouncer with no eyebrows and a staircase that stank of ammonia. In a back room, lit only by green neon, Casper was waiting. "Tell me about the vault," he said. Luca blinked. "What vault?" Casper's smile vanished. "Don't be stupid. You trying to sell me?" Luca asked. "No," Casper said. "I'm trying to buy in." Luca leaned back. "There is no in. It's over. Then sell me what's left." There was a pause. Then Lucas said, "What if I told you I still had contacts?" "You'd better be right." He wasn't. The next day, 2 of Casper's men followed him. Luca noticed, barely. He tried to lose them in the metro, then in a shopping mall, then finally by ducking into a public bathroom and exiting through a side door. He ran for 5 blocks. When he got back to his apartment, it had been torn apart. His laptop was gone. So were the diamonds. All that remained was a note, stuck to the inside of the fridge. "This was your only warning."
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Chapter 4: Fractures. Luca hadn't slept in 48 hours. His Prague apartment was compromised, the diamonds gone, his laptop in the hands of people who didn't care about the rules. The Casper crew, whoever they were, had taken everything and left just enough for him to know he'd been allowed to survive. But survival had conditions. He pulled his remaining burner phone from its hiding spot inside a hollowed-out speaker. No contacts, just 1 emergency number, hard-coded and connected to a one-way relay server in Marrakesh. It could reach Donato if the line was open. Maybe Leonardo, too. He hesitated. Then he pressed send. The message was simple. Compromised. Need extraction. In Florence. Leonardo awoke in a roadside motel. The bed smelled like bleach, the walls paper-thin. His suitcase sat under the desk, untouched, but his instincts were louder than ever. He'd seen the surveillance van outside his old place 2 days before. No movement yet, but it was only a matter of time. His phone buzzed once. An encrypted notification. He opened the message. Compromised. Need extraction. He stared at it, then whispered, "Damn it, Luca." John was sitting at a terrace cafe overlooking the Gothic Quarter in Barcelona, sipping espresso and sketching in a notepad when his backup phone buzzed. He saw the coded subject line and slid the phone into his coat. Inside his apartment, behind a false panel, he unpacked his comms kit, a makeshift command center built from salvage parts and software that would make an NSA contractor sweat. He decrypted the message, cross-referenced its IP mask, and traced the bounce. "Prague," he muttered. "You idiot." He switched to a secure relay and sent a new message across the chain. Protocol breach confirmed. Phase 3 initiated. Back in the south of France, Armand stood on the dock, his hands covered in grease. A storm was brewing across the Mediterranean. He'd spent the morning checking his boat's systems, feeling something stir in his gut. The radio chirped 3 short bursts, then silence. It was the prearranged signal. Phase 3. Fracture. It meant the team would go dark again, deeper this time, each man forced into full survival mode. It meant no contact, no regrouping, no fences or brokers. It meant burning the past to save the future. Armand didn't flinch. He walked back to the boat, opened a hidden compartment, and began dismantling the encryption rig. Luca, meanwhile, had gone underground, literally. He was sleeping in a utility corridor beneath Prague's train station, curled behind a chain-link gate, cradling a crowbar and a bottle of water. His ribs ached from the fight. His shoulder throbbed where someone had pistol-whipped him 2 nights earlier. He had nothing, except rage, and one number left. He dialed it, waited. The voice that answered was smooth, tired old. "Speak. It's Moretti," he whispered. "I need a door." Silence. Then, "Your name hasn't been spoken in years. It will be soon. You owe me." The voice sighed. "You're not worth what you cost, but the stones are." Another pause. Then the voice said, "Be at Marseille Station. Freight track 4. Midnight. Bring no one."
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
That night, Luca climbed into the back of a refrigerated produce truck labeled Nordic Fresh. He didn't ask the driver's name, didn't speak. The man drove in silence for hours. By dawn, the Czech border was behind them. Austria loomed. Luca didn't know where they were going. That was the point. Leonardo didn't wait for confirmation. He packed what remained of his Florence life into 2 suitcases, wired 2 safety accounts to new identities, and walked into a train station wearing a gray coat and a pair of fake glasses. He bought a ticket to Naples, then switched halfway in Rome to a completely different route. By the time his original train reached the south, Leonardo was crossing into Switzerland by foot. He knew Luca's mistake would put all of them at risk. And the worst part? He wasn't sure it had been a mistake. John accessed a satellite uplink through a compromised weather monitoring station in Bilbao. From there, he began a sweep, searching for unusual movement in diamond-related market patterns, spikes in cuts, sales of raw stones with Antwerp trace signatures, odd customs detentions. He spotted 3 anomalies. 2 were noise. The third? An intercepted customs log showing a shipment of synthetic industrial diamonds being seized in Vienna. Embedded within the shipment, 2 unregistered stones traced by laser etching, stones from their job. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. Either someone had started selling, or someone had gotten sloppy. He encrypted the data and logged it into the vault. Then he sat back and waited for the next fracture. Donato was on the move, leaving behind the vineyard. He packed light, the ledger drive, a Browning high power, and a waterproof bag of euros. He rented an old Vespa, told no one, and disappeared into the spine of the Apennines. For him, the job had been sacred, quiet, untraceable. Now, he was hearing whispers from Naples to Milan, police tightening, brokers sweating, fences disappearing. Something was unraveling. He stopped at a roadside cafe and made a call on a public handset. "Speak," the voice answered. Donato said nothing for a long time. Then, "What happens if one of us flips?" The voice answered instantly. "Then we all burn." Luca awoke in Vienna. The truck had left him on a street corner beneath a bridge. A note had been taped to the inside of his jacket. "You're not welcome, but you're expected." He limped to a nearby hotel, paid in cash, and locked himself inside for 3 days. He shaved, changed identities, built a new burner device from scratch. Then he started watching. He needed leverage, anything to keep himself alive. And what he found changed everything. A news story, barely reported, spoke of a banker in Zurich found dead in his penthouse. Victor Schaefer. Cause of death, apparent overdose. Police said it looked like suicide. Luca knew better. Someone was closing the loop, which meant the game wasn't over. It had just turned lethal.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Chapter 5, The Hunter. Zurich is a city that prides itself on silence. Wealth here doesn't shout, it hums. Victor Schaefer used to say that money spoke in Zurich only when it had something to hide. Now he was dead, and someone had made sure it looked like he'd whispered his last word. The official report called it an overdose of barbiturates, the kind used in hospital-grade sedation. But Victor never touched drugs. He had the discipline of a Swiss watchmaker, a man who once timed a heist meeting to the second and fined Donato for arriving 3 minutes late. Leonardo knew the truth the moment he read the report. Someone had silenced the broker, and that meant they weren't just cleaning up the heist. They were burning anyone who knew too much. At a roadside motel in Liechtenstein, Leonardo sat in the breakfast lounge watching the rain smear the windows. The coffee was bitter, the bread stale. He didn't care. He had one objective now: get to the others before the predator did. He pulled out the leather-bound notebook he kept hidden beneath a false lining in his suitcase. Each page contained sketches, codes, notes, everything the authorities would kill for if they ever got their hands on it. He opened to the page labeled Phase 3 Protocol, Emergency Evac. Only 3 names remained unaccounted for: Armand, John, Luca. Luca had found a haven in the basement of an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Vienna. No plumbing, no electricity, no traceable footprint. He lived like a ghost, sneaking out only at night, scavenging burner phones, and building a digital eye on the city's underbelly. But Vienna was starting to feel like a trap. Every night, the shadows outside seemed to linger a second longer. Every morning, birds stopped singing a little earlier. He didn't sleep anymore. He only watched. And after 3 days of tracking encrypted chatter on darknet networks and whisper forums, he saw it. A post. Short. Clinical. Terrifying. Schaefer terminated. Phase Omega in play. Priority targets. LM, GS, LA. Luca froze. GS John. LA Leonardo. LM himself. Donato and Armand were missing from the list. Either they were safe, or someone already got to them. In Barcelona, John had gone completely dark. He no longer operated from his apartment. He rotated safe houses daily, staying only in places where he could pick the locks himself. He checked drains for surveillance bugs, taped hairs across door jambs, slept fully dressed with a silenced pistol under the pillow. It wasn't paranoia. Not anymore. He'd intercepted an encrypted packet on a frequency buried deep in a legacy satellite. It originated from a burner ISP node in Zurich, relayed through 2 obfuscated routers. Whoever sent it wasn't just cautious, they were professional. The contents were coordinates, instructions, and 3 names. He decrypted the sender tag. Langley. It didn't belong to any of them. Not to the crew. Not even to the old brokers. This was someone.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Knew. Armand was in the Tyrrhenian Sea, 50 miles off the coast of Sardinia. He sailed at night and drifted by day. His vessel, La Chimmer, was silent. No AIS signal, no tracking beacon, no ports of call. He had enough fuel to reach Morocco, but he wasn't running. He was watching. The death of Victor Schaefer had triggered an old alert code in Armand's internal system, one connected to a cold wallet in Singapore. When that alert triggered, it unlocked a secondary ledger, a list of names with biometric prints tied to individuals who had knowledge of the quiet job. Armand scrolled the list now. 2 names have been grayed out. Schaefer, deceased. Willem Jansen, disappeared, presumed dead. Willem had been their original tech consultant. Fired before the job. Gone silent years ago. Armand didn't believe in coincidence. He believed in hunters. The hunter had a name, Langley. Nobody knew where he came from, but everyone in the criminal underworld whispered about him. A former military intelligence contractor gone rogue. He'd worked for black-budget kill teams, hunting cartel leaders and fugitive warlords. Then one day, he disappeared from the system. Now he took private contracts. Only the biggest. Only the bloodiest. Langley never left survivors. Luca wasn't waiting anymore. He burned his temporary hideout in Vienna and made his way to the Slovakian border on foot. He used stolen IDs, avoided CCTV routes, and bribed a ferry guard to cross the Danube by night. In his pocket was a note scribbled in haste, a rendezvous location in Zagreb, a safe house registered under a false company once used by Schaefer in 1998. Luca had no idea if the others would come. He only knew he'd be safer with the devils he knew than with the one hunting them. Donato had vanished. No comms, no signal, not even Armand's satellite network could pick him up. Leonardo assumed the worst. But John knew better. Donato had always kept one escape plan, even from them. A place called Monte Purgatorio, an old monastery in the Umbrian hills, converted into a silent retreat, with no internet, no phones, no clocks. It was a black hole. If Donato had gone there, it meant he'd known about Langley before any of them. And it meant the storm had just begun. Back at sea, Armand made a decision. He transmitted a one-time pulse from La Chimmer's encrypted comms beacon, a signal that could only be picked up by one person, John. 2 words embedded in the stream. Assemble. Corsica. No more hiding. If Langley wanted them, he'd have to fight.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Chapter 6. Smoke and Steel. Corsica rose from the Mediterranean like a jagged knife. Craggy cliffs, mist-covered valleys, and wild forests that once sheltered shepherds, outlaws, and resistance fighters. Now it would shelter thieves. In a forgotten inlet between Porto and Calvi, a small cove lay hidden behind shattered rock. Locals called it Fossa Vecchia, Old Pit. Smugglers used to land there in the 1800s. Today, only Armand knew the path to its narrow beach. His boat, La Chimmer, dropped anchor just beyond the shallows. As night fell, the old soldier stood on the beach in silence, wind carving his coat against his body. He waited, and just before midnight, a single light flickered along the ridgeline above. A signal. Luca arrived first, limping down the steep slope with a pack on his shoulder and paranoia in his eyes. His clothes were dusty, his beard unkempt, but his mind sharper than ever. He didn't speak until they were under the rock overhang. "You're late," Armand muttered. "I walked from Zagreb." "Fair." Armand handed him a flask. "Leonardo?" Luca asked. "He's en route." Luca hesitated. "Donato?" Armand's silence was answer enough. John came next, slipping through the brush with the grace of a man who'd broken into more government buildings than he'd ever admit. He carried only a small bag, his signature satchel of tech tools, and an antique pistol tucked into the back of his jeans. The 3 men stood in the cove's natural shelter, a cathedral of stone and wind. John unpacked a handheld terminal, tapped in a sequence, and revealed a small collapsible screen. A map blinked into existence. On it, red zones, tracked cell towers, satellite drifts, radio interception fields. "This is the kill net," John said. "Langley's coverage. He's got drones in Nice, Marseille, Palermo. Civilian piggybacking. If we go active on any known frequency, we're tagged within 30 seconds. And yet we're here," Armand said. "Unguessed. For now. Then let's make it count." Leonardo arrived at dawn. He descended the ridge barefoot, having hiked the last few kilometers through dew and stone to avoid sound. When he appeared in the cave's mouth, he looked like a revenant, pale, lean, unshaven. But when he locked eyes with the others, his calm returned. He said one word, "Langley." John nodded grimly. "You've heard of him?" Luca asked. "I've seen him," Leonardo replied. "In Budapest. 2 years ago. He executed a Turkish courier in broad daylight. Vanished without trace. The man was on Interpol's protected witness list." Armand spoke for the first time in hours. "So he's real." "He's real," Leonardo said. "And he's playing a game we're not supposed to win." John connected a thermal projector to the stone wall, displaying a heat map of recent European network disruptions. One cluster glowed deep red. "Zurich, Schaefer," John said. After that, dead zones followed him east. "Prague, Vienna, Zagreb." "He's chasing me," Luca muttered. "He wants the diamonds." Leonardo shook his head. "He doesn't want the diamonds. He wants the list." Armand frowned. "What list?" Leonardo opened his notebook, pulled out a folded sheet. Handwritten names, serial numbers, coordinates, the brokers, everyone who touched or facilitated the Antwerp heist. John leaned closer. "This is the ledger?" Leonardo nodded. "The only existing copy, hidden in code, part of the original contingency plan." Armand ran a hand through his beard. "And Langley's working for someone who wants it destroyed." "No," Leonardo corrected him. "He's not working for someone." He tapped Schaefer's name. "He's taking their empire." The plan formed over the next 48 hours. Armand and Leonardo.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Fortified the cove with lookouts, motion alarms, and scattershot explosives embedded into the surrounding cliffs, designed to disable, not kill. John ran comms tracking from a field station in a limestone cave, hacking satellite pings with solar-powered relays. Luca did what he always did. He watched. Langley was close. He could feel it. Every stolen satellite ping. Every drone that passed too low. Every night animal that went quiet. Then on the third night it came. A glider. Silent. Black. No lights. No transponder. It passed over the cove at 3:42 a.m., low enough to rustle John's equipment tent. "Contact," John whispered into the line. "We've been pinged." Armand tensed. "Thermal. Likely. Passive scan. He's watching." Leonardo didn't move. "He knows we're here. Let him come." The trap was simple. They would let Langley enter the cove, thinking he'd caught them unaware. But beneath the surface, Armand had laid a magnetic minefield rigged to a manual trigger. One wrong move, and Langley's escape route, his personal watercraft, buried at sea, would be vapor. Leonardo had coated the ridgeline path with powdered graphite, nearly invisible, but perfect for tracking footprints. John's terminal would jam all exit signals once the hunter was inside. And Luca would bait him. He set up a false comms rig 30 meters inland, a fake encryption suite designed to look like a dead drop server. He embedded a heat signature source beneath it, simulating a human operator. Then he waited. Langley came at nightfall. No sound, no rustle, just presence. He moved like liquid through trees, masked, armored, eyes glinting beneath thermal lenses. He carried no rifle, just a sidearm, a folding blade, and a palm-sized EMP dart gun. He paused at the edge of the graphite trail, then stepped forward. From the ridge, Leonardo tracked every move through binoculars. "He's in," he whispered. Armand's thumb hovered over the mine trigger. John launched the comms jammer. The trap had sprung. Langley stopped 6 meters from the dummy rig. He didn't approach. He looked up, straight at Leonardo's position. Leonardo flinched. Langley raised his hand, then vanished. "Where is he?" Luca hissed. "I've lost him," Leonardo said. He ducked under the canopy. Armand reached for the mines. "Not yet," John said. "We lose the element of surprise." Then, without warning, a detonation. Small, controlled. Smoke blossomed from John's cave. "EMP dart," John shouted. He hit the relay. Their signal grid went blind. Luca grabbed a flare gun. Armand shouted, "Now!" He hit the trigger. The sea exploded. Langley's exit vanished in a storm of salt and shrapnel. Then silence. Too much silence. Leonardo crept down the slope, blade in hand, moving like a ghost. He reached John's station. Empty. No sign of struggle. No sign of John. Just one thing on the ground. A single playing card. Ace of spades.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Chapter 7. Blood Code. The fire crackled low inside the limestone cave. Leonardo sat with his back against the wall, eyes sunken, hands streaked with blood. Not his own. John was gone. No body. No sounds of struggle. No sign of pursuit. Just the ace of spades, Langley's signature. A calling card soaked in old habits and mockery. Armand stood at the mouth of the cave, rifle cradled in his arms, scanning the ridgeline. Luca paced like a caged wolf, muttering code strings under his breath. None of them spoke the words out loud, but it was now clear. Langley wasn't just a hunter. He was toying with them. He didn't come for the diamonds, Leonardo said finally. He came for John, Armand replied. He came for what John knew, Luca added. The ledger, the backups, the key protocols. Leonardo looked up, but John didn't carry them. Doesn't matter. John had part of the cipher. So do I. So do you. Armand turned from the cave mouth. So we burned the cipher. All of it. Leave nothing for Langley. Luca shook his head violently. That's exactly what he wants. He doesn't care about the diamonds. He's eliminating proof. The moment the cipher's gone, he controls the narrative. We become ghosts. Lies replace facts. Leonardo rubbed his temple. Then we do the opposite. Luca blinked. We go public? No. We weaponize the truth. They set up a secure relay deep in the Corsican highlands, using repurposed radio gear scavenged from a decades-old French military outpost. The station was buried in signal-dead rock, shielded by mountains and ionized cloud cover. Even Langley's eyes couldn't see it. There, Luca began reconstructing the ledger. Every name, every number, every encrypted routing path from Antwerp to Zurich to Dubai, the raw infrastructure behind the heist, and the unholy network of brokers who silently ruled the shadow economy. Armand watched over him like a hawk. Leonardo mapped Langley's kill trail, from Schaefer's penthouse to John's vanishing, and noticed something strange. There were no witnesses, no digital traces, no mistakes. Langley didn't act like a freelancer. He moved like a sanctioned asset. Back in the cove, Armand discovered something that made his blood go cold. A tripwire. It had been woven into a tree root near the minefield. Thin, synthetic, practically invisible. Beneath it, a nanotag beacon, the kind used by special forces to guide drone strikes. Langley had marked the cove for liquidation. Armand radioed the others. We have 1 hour. Maybe less. They moved fast. Leonardo grabbed the notebook. Luca, the relay drives. Armand disabled the mines and rigged the ridge to collapse once they were clear.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
The escape route led inland, through tunnels carved by water over centuries, known only to smugglers and hunters. The path opened near Corte, in the mountainous heart of Corsica. As they descended, a deep rumble echoed behind them. A missile strike. The cove collapsed into flame. Langley had made his move. He wanted them erased. But he'd underestimated one thing. They were no longer just a crew. They were survivors. They made camp in a shepherd's cabin high above Corte. There, Leonardo finally told them the truth. I met Langley once. Not by accident. Luca froze. Armand narrowed his eyes. Leonardo continued, voice low, eyes distant. 4 years ago, I was approached by a client. Not a buyer, someone in intelligence. He wanted a layout of Antwerp's diamond center. But he wasn't after stones. He was after leverage, a way to map out the global money movement in the luxury black market. He looked at them. It wasn't just a heist. It was a test. Luca backed away. You're saying, yes, Leonardo said. Langley was part of the original project, a ghost embedded in the operation from the start. He didn't vanish. He was buried, activated only when the protocol failed. Armand's face darkened. You knew. I suspected. After the heist, I thought we'd passed. I thought we were clear. But the ledger changed that. It wasn't meant to survive. Luca punched the wall. And John, he died because of it. Leonardo didn't blink. No, John died because he tried to expose it. Luca stood silently by the window, staring into the fog. Then he spoke. There's a server in Marseille. Cold shell, no power. It's old, a fossil, but it contains the original blueprint of Schaefer's signal routes. John mapped it before the heist. If Langley doesn't know about it yet, we use it. Armand growled. To what end? We release the ledger. Leak it. Not to the press, to the brokers, to the cartels. Make Langley a target. Leonardo's voice was steel. We turn the predator into prey. The final phase began. Armand returned to the coast under cover of night to procure transport. Leonardo forged new identities, fresh papers, clean routes. Luca buried the restored ledger across 6 mirrored servers, each one tagged to activate on dead man triggers. If even one of them died, the whole web would go live. By the end of the week, the truth would explode. Unless Langley reached them first. But Langley had a problem. He had underestimated John. Hours before he was taken, John had activated a ghost protocol buried in a safe deposit box in Trieste, a failsafe drone that recorded Langley's face, his gait, and the audio signature of his weapon. A complete biometric package. It was already on Luca's screen. Leonardo smiled. Now we know who you are.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Chapter 8. The Marseille Gambit. The ferry docked under a rust-colored sky. Marseille, a sprawl of crooked alleys, oil-streaked water, and whispers in half a dozen languages. The city felt like it was waiting for something, crouched low under the weight of its own secrets. The crew arrived under false names, clean passports, and borrowed silence. Leonardo wore a battered trench coat and a cheap briefcase filled with encrypted SSDs. Luca was leaner now, wiry, his eyes jittery from days without sleep. He carried nothing but a thermos and a half-repaired satellite phone. Armand looked like an aging mercenary, which wasn't far from the truth. His hands, hidden in gloves, clenched and unclenched like clockwork. He carried a duffel bag that could detonate a small street. They weren't here to hide. They were here to finish what they'd started. The target was located in an abandoned industrial district near the port of Marseille. Block 19, a building gutted by fire 2 years ago, quietly sold to a front company operated by one of Schaefer's shell networks. Inside it, an unpowered mainframe, fossil tech that predated most modern surveillance. No online connections, no cloud mirrors, but it held something far more dangerous. A truth bomb. The original transaction logs, route hashes, voice keys, everything John had compiled in secret. Langley didn't know it existed. Yet, they entered just before dawn. The interior smelled of ash, mold, and rusted copper. Pigeons flapped somewhere above the rafters. Armand moved ahead, scanning for tripwires. Leonardo trailed behind, eyes fixed on his tablet, tracking residual heat and magnetic anomalies. Luca paused at the server chamber door. He placed a single hand on it. This is it. He opened the case. Inside, a diagnostic spike, a narrow cylinder wrapped in encryption tape, pulsing with readiness. Luca inserted it into the ancient port. The mainframe hissed to life, faintly like a breath being drawn after years underwater. A dozen red lights blinked once, then turned green. "It's waking up," Luca whispered. Then the lights flickered. "Something's wrong," Leonardo said. "Power surge." "No," Luca breathed. "Feedback. There's another source." The floor beneath them shuddered. "Move." An explosion tore through the east corridor, sending a fireball up the stairwell. Armand flung Leonardo to the ground and shielded him with his back. Luca screamed. His terminal sparked, smoking from a port. Leonardo looked up through dust and fire. Langley stood in the shadows, gun in hand. He didn't shoot. He watched, measured, like a chess player surveying his board.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Vanished again. Armand chased, leaping over fallen beams, heart pounding. Lucas slumped beside the server, his spike fried. All of it, he gasped. It was about this moment. He knew. Leonardo grabbed his collar. Back up. One mirror. Geneva. Not wired, but we have to reach it before him. Outside, Armand lost Langley in the industrial ruins, catching only a trace of scent, graphite, cordite, and sweat. But Langley left them something else. A warning, carved with a blade into a steel door. You're not playing a game. You're in one. They vanished from Marseille that night. They didn't wait for daylight. Armand bribed a train operator to smuggle them in a supply car headed for Lyon. From there, they'd break west toward Geneva. Leonardo held his broken ribs with one hand and the SSDs with the other. Luca whispered, "What if we're too late?" Leonardo answered without hesitation. "Then we make him pay for every second." Langley was already on the move, but something had changed. After the blast, he hadn't pursued. He hadn't killed. He had retreated. Leonardo thought about that, replaying every memory of Langley. It was a message, he said. He doesn't want to destroy the truth anymore. Luca frowned. Then what does he want? To control it. They arrived in Geneva under rain. The mirror site was in a university basement, disguised as a storage archive for old magnetic tapes. John had once posed as a systems historian, documenting analog infrastructure. No one had ever checked the real purpose. Luca opened the false wall panel behind an empty row of tape racks. There it was, the second spike. Leonardo inserted it into his rebuilt terminal. The screen flared to life, and then an image appeared. Not code, not maps, a face. John. A message, pre-recorded. "If you're seeing this," John's voice said, "then I'm probably dead. Or worse." He smiled faintly. "Don't panic. I left something behind. Not just data, names, Langley's real identity, and his buyer. The screen flickered again. A name printed in block text. Alaric Vaughn. Leonardo stiffened. No, you know him? Armand asked. He runs Hevelio's corporation, Global Logistics. Private intelligence contracts. Arms deals. He built the cloak Langley hides in. Luca's voice cracked. He runs half the black market brokers in Europe. And he just declared war. Jean's recording ended with GPS coordinates and a final message. Get to Lisbon. There's a vault. You'll need the red key card. Leonardo pulled the red card from his jacket. Jean had mailed it to him a year ago. No return address, no explanation. He had known this day would come. Outside, lightning split the sky. Leonardo looked at the others. No more running. No more hiding. We go to Lisbon, Armand said. And we burn them all down, Luca added. Leonardo slipped the red card into his pocket. No, we bury them under the truth.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Chapter 9. The Vault. Lisbon sat on the edge of the Atlantic like a forgotten prayer. Pastel buildings clinging to sun-scorched hills, cobbled streets echoing with history, and in every shadow, a secret. The crew arrived under heavy skies. Leonardo felt it in his bones. The tension, the weight, the sense that the final act had begun. Jean's coordinates pointed to the Alfama district, one of the city's oldest quarters. A warren of narrow alleys and hidden staircases, perfect for smugglers and ghosts. The vault was buried beneath a crumbling wine cellar, sealed behind false bricks and a biometric lock keyed to John's retinal pattern. He knew we'd come, Luca muttered, examining the reader. Leonardo pulled out the thermoplastic our model John had built from his own biodata. A twisted gift for a twisted situation. He placed it against the scanner. A moment of silence. Then, click, the wall parted. They stepped into history. The vault was not what they expected. No walls of gold. No rows of servers. Just a single reinforced steel case, bolted to the floor and locked with 3 mechanisms: biometric, analog dial, and RFID. Armand raised an eyebrow. Who still uses dials? People who know how to stay hidden, Leonardo muttered. Luca cracked his knuckles and got to work. As he spun the dial, Leonardo explored the room. It was clean, too clean. No dust, no mold. Recently accessed. We're not alone, he said. Luca nodded. Already tripped a silent alarm when we opened it. Langley knows. Click. The final lock disengaged. Inside the case lay a velvet pouch and a sealed black envelope. Armand lifted the pouch and emptied it into his palm. A diamond, the Sundering Star. Stolen decades ago. Worth over 50 million. Leonardo frowned. This wasn't part of the Antwerp score. No, Armand said. This is bait. Luca opened the envelope. Inside, photos, documents, and 1 microchip. A solid-state memory crystal marked with a serial from a NATO satellite. Leonardo paled. It's the origin protocol, he whispered. Luca blinked. The code that created Langley? Worse, Leonardo said. The code that licensed him. Langley wasn't just a rogue asset. He was a legal one. Buried deep in the post-9/11 privatization networks. Langley had been assigned as an exigent force vector, an untraceable tool to neutralize financial threats.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Found the file that exposed the black budget link between Langley and Alaric Vaughn's Hevelio's Corp. And then he'd stolen their crown jewel, the Sundering Star. He wanted them to come for him, Luca whispered. Armand nodded slowly, so he could bait the world into seeing the truth. Leonardo gritted his teeth. Then we follow through. They prepped the crystal for transmission. Luca mapped out 5 dark web drops, including one routed through the Colombian cartels and another through Ukrainian cyber activists. Leonardo would hand-deliver the physical diamond to a cartel intermediary in Casablanca, proof of the deception. Armand armed the vault with a fusion lock. If Langley finds this place, it burns. They moved fast. The plan was airtight, until the roof exploded. Langley dropped from the smoke, a specter clad in black, face hidden behind a thermoptic mask. The first shot hit Armand in the shoulder. Leonardo tackled Luca, dragging him behind the vault. The air reeked of cordite and burning stone. Langley advanced with military precision, clearing corners, checking angles, but he didn't fire again. He wanted the crystal intact. Leonardo whispered to Luca, "You have 10 seconds." Luca slid the crystal into the relay and hit the send key. Langley heard the click. He charged. Armand lunged from the smoke, slamming into Langley with a roar. They tumbled together, 2 titans locked in silence and violence. Langley drove a knife into Armand's side. Armand didn't scream. He locked his arms around Langley and dragged him toward the vault. Leonardo saw the plan. He screamed, and no. But Armand was already slamming the fusion lock shut. Langley's fist smashed glass. Too late. The blast vaporized half the room. Silence. Smoke. Leonardo crawled to Luca, both of them bleeding, coughing. The vault was gone. So was Langley. So was Armand. But the crystal. Leonardo's sat phone bust. 5 green pings. All 5 drops complete, Luca gasped. Leonardo collapsed against the wall. It's out. Across the world, the leak detonated like a controlled burn through a forest of lies. Documents, logs, photos, proof of covert operations, asset licensing, financial blackmail, and the creation of Langley as a kill switch against global instability. Hevelios Corp stock plummeted. Interpol issued a red notice. Alaravon went into hiding. Langley was declared rogue, but nobody could find a body, not even ashes. Days later, on a beach in the Azores, Leonardo scattered Armand's dog tags into the surf. Luca sat beside him, pale, shaking but alive. "We're not safe," Luca said. "We never were," Leonardo replied. "But now neither are they." Luca nodded. Then he pulled something from his pocket. A second crystal. Leonardo stared. "I cloned it," Luca said quietly. "Just in case." Leonardo smiled. Then they walked into the morning light.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Chapter 10. The Echo Protocol. A week passed. A week of blackouts, emergency briefings, panicked brokers, and vanished operatives. The ripple effect from the crystal leak had reached every hidden corner of the world. Leonardo watched it unfold from a safe house carved into the hills above Sintra, Portugal, a place John once used to hide surveillance gear and antique weapons. Now it served as their last bastion. News anchors stuttered on state channels. Financial systems froze briefly in Zurich. Interpol's servers slowed to a crawl. And everywhere, the name Langley appeared in whispers, encrypted chats, and half-deleted documents. But there was still no photo, no trace. Because Langley wasn't just a person. He was an idea. And ideas, Leonardo knew, didn't die easy. Luca worked obsessively through the night, writing code, watching server logs, and patching firewall breaches faster than the worms could crawl in. They knew Langley wouldn't go after governments. He'd come for them. And the backup, Luca pointed to the screen. Signal interference in Malta, then another in Cape Town, each matching the packet fingerprint we used for the crystal drop. Leonardo leaned in. He's trying to find the clone. Luca nodded grimly. If he destroys it, The leak becomes rumor. The original was vaporized with Armand. Leonardo walked to the gun safe. Then we bring the fight to him. Luca blinked. Ow! We used the final layer John left us. Luca froze. You don't mean? Yes, Leonardo said. The Echo Protocol. John had built it after the Antwerp job, paranoid about what might happen if the wrong people ever learned who Langley really was. The Echo Protocol wasn't a weapon. It was a story, a meticulously constructed truth, wrapped in fiction, camouflaged as a thriller novel, seated across 50,000 ebook libraries under fake author names. Each file contained fragments, altered names, fictionalized events, but every detail real beneath the surface, written in a way that could only be decoded by those who understood the pattern. The diamond theft, the ledger, the vault, Langley, Leonardo knew how to trigger it. You didn't tell people the truth. You made them obsessed with it. The upload began at dawn, first to dark literature forums, then obscure publishing channels, then torrent indexes disguised as Cold War archives. Luca triggered the reader bot. Once 1,000 downloads occurred, the protocol would activate. Every reader who reached Chapter 3 would be offered the alternate ending, the real one.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Afternoon, 73,000 unique downloads. By nightfall, 300,000. Their story, had gone viral. Langley's shadow couldn't kill that. But then came a knock. Not on the door, on the firewall. Luca's console went black. Leonardo raised his gun, and in the silence, a voice crackled from the old speaker system built into the stone. It was distorted, synthesized, but unmistakable. Langley, you gave them a story. Now let me give you an ending. A drone passed overhead, silent, unseen. The screen lit up again, not with text, with a countdown. 5 minutes. Luca pulled the drives. Leonardo grabbed the encrypted sat phone and stuffed it in his coat. We go through the tunnels. They ran. Behind them, the house erupted in flame. Stone shattered. The past crumbled. But the truth, their truth, was already out. They reached Porto by the next night, ducking checkpoints and news crews. The leaks had now made their way into mainstream channels. And with it, panic. Alaric Vaughan had gone dark. Langley, still untraceable. But something new had appeared. A video, posted anonymously. It showed Armand, in the Lisbon vault, dragging Langley into the blast. It showed Langley's face. Not masked, not blurred, just a man. Wounded, mortal. Leonardo stood at the edge of the port, wind in his coat, watching fishing boats drift in the fog. He turned to Luca. It's done. Luca stared at the screen. Not yet. He handed Leonardo a small device. A pager. Old, cracked, still blinking. Leonardo frowned. What is this? I found it in John's safe. There was a code attached to the chip. One last signal. Leonardo pressed the single button. Static. Then a message. If you're alive, meet me in Fez. Trust no one. Leonardo's breath caught. John. They left that night, under assumed names and forged credentials, crossing into Morocco on foot, then by train, then by stolen car. The city of Fez welcomed them with chaotic silence, its maze of alleys perfect for the ghosts they had become. They followed the coordinates to a riad buried in the Medina. Inside, candlelight, a table, 2 cups of tea, and John, alive. He was thinner, scarred, but alive. He smiled faintly as Leonardo froze in the doorway. You didn't think I'd die that easy, did you? Luca gaped. The van, a fake. The card Langley left behind, planted. I was already gone. Leonardo dropped into the chair, trembling. Why? John sipped his tea. Because I needed you to finish it. Without me, You had to believe I was gone, so you'd fight, not just run. Leonardo's eyes burned. Luca whispered, "So what now?" John set down the cup. Now he finished the story. Properly. In the days that followed, the three of them finalized the Echo Cascade. The novel fragments were compiled, translated, serialized, and released in chapters under a dozen aliases. Every major city hosted its own truth circle, readers unknowingly decoding secrets with every page turned. Langley had become fiction, which made him impossible to erase. You couldn't kill a myth, especially one born from reality. Langley, they later learned, had survived the blast, barely, but not unscarred. He'd been spotted in Istanbul, then Mumbai, then gone again. Some said he was rebuilding. Others claimed he was hunting again. But the world had changed. Hevelios was bleeding. Interpol's shadow agents had defected. The diamond economy was no longer safe. And Leonardo? He lived quietly now. Sometimes in Tangier, sometimes in Kiev, always moving. Luca ran data systems for a whistleblower collective. John wrote novels. And Armand? His name etched into a hidden plaque in Lisbon. The man who stopped a ghost. One night, months later, Leonardo received a package in Prague. Unmarked. Inside a photo. A rooftop. A silhouette. Watching from afar. Langley. And scribbled beneath it, "We're not done." Leonardo smiled. "Neither are we."
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.